Hey, 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 happy Wednesday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch. Brought to you by, amazingly enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor in chief. So, welcome aboard. Tonight is Wednesday, November 23rd, 2022. It is Thanksgiving Eve here in the US, and it is also live stream 855. So, welcome aboard if you're fairly new to visiting the dispatch. Let me point out, super casual around here, just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news. And then we normally take a first look at a game. And tonight will be no different because we are going to dive on in and take a first look at Tome of Beasts Volume 3 for 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons from my friends over at Kobold Press. So we're going to dive on in, take a peek at this. It's over 400 pages. I believe it's over 400 new creatures in here as well. So we're going to be taking a peek in just a bit. Once again, if you're not overly familiar with the stream, let me point out that we do tackle the tabletop gaming news first. So that means if you are watching live, it'll probably be about 35 minutes or so before we start taking a peek into Tome of Beasts 3. But if you are watching 30 minutes or more after the stream is ended, there will be timestamps. So you can jump ahead if you'd like. So we got some cool news tonight. But those timestamps are located in the show notes, as well as, depending on the device you happen to use to watch this, might even be right there in the timeline on screen in front of you. All right. So, also should mention when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more that you won't find here on the YouTube channel. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Lastly, it is a live stream, so that means there is chat available. Not on screen. It's one of the ways I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. And you must be a subscriber to the channel for at least 48 hours before you can take part in chat. Another way that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay as well. So, first out the gate tonight was the Happy Wargamer. Mr. Eddie T is with us, as is Kathy Evans. Beat Cafe is with us as well. It's been a while since we've seen Beat Cafe. So, welcome aboard, everybody. I'm going to take a guess. Might be relatively quiet tonight, seeing that it is, at least here in the US, the evening before Thanksgiving. Quite a few people are out there traveling. So, we'll see how chat goes. Got to also point out, some reason my throat is kind of my voice is off a little bit tonight. I don't know what it is. I've kind of felt like I'm coming down with a cold for a couple of days now. So maybe that's it. Dan Kellogg is also with us in chat, as is 245 Trioxin. So Mr. Eddie T is our current present chat moderator. I'll take a guess. take a wild stab that also means another of our chat moderators, Sarah D, is not far behind. So Mr. Eddie T says, yeah, my voice and that it's the crazy weather changes. Yeah, because we were cold and then now we're in the 40s. We hit 50, I think it was yesterday. I don't know if we hit 50 today. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's up with my voice. And I'm keeping it lubricated with non-alcoholic beverages, by the way. All right. Enough of that. Let's jump on in to tonight's news because arriving in late December is Dog Park. Here's the latest from Birdwood Games. Welcome to Dog Park, a mid-weight competitive set collection and point-to-point movement game in which players take on the role of dog walkers who recruit, walk, and care for their dogs over 4 rounds. Each round is split into 4 phases. Recruitment phase. Players compete in 2 rounds of offers to add dogs to their kennels. Offers are made with players' reputation, victory points, so must be placed wisely. There's the selection phase. Players decide which dogs to place on their lead to walk this round. Walking phase. Players journey through the dog park with their fellow walkers, collecting resources, earning reputation, and interacting with other walkers. Then we have the home time phase. Players earn reputation for their walk dogs and lose reputation for any unwalked dogs in their kennel. Players must choose their routes and dogs carefully to earn the best reputation and prove they are the most accomplished walker of them all. At the end of the game, the player with the most reputation, you guessed it, wins. Dog Park is for 1 to 4 players, ages 10 and up, plays in 40 to 80 minutes, and will carry an MSRP of $59.99. Looks pretty interesting. I gotta point out there's like a lot of dogs in this game, and I believe there are 2 additional expansions that have more breeds as well. So, kind of interesting. So, I was just talking about how it had warmed up a bit. In fact, Beat Cafe mentions it was 56 in Rockford, Illinois today. So I always joke around that this is the kingdom of spiders. And of course, the weather turned colder, didn't see any. And now, of course, there's a little tiny spider making its way down. And I was kind of keeping an eye on it because I thought it would pass right in front of the lens on the camera here. But he or she, whatever, it a little bit off to the side, although now it's kind of swinging over this way. So don't be surprised if you suddenly see like a little blob because it's way closer to the camera than it is to me. Anyway, this looks kind of interesting. Definitely like the artwork as well. Two 245 Triaxis says, all hail Lolth. So Sarah is with us. Yes, Sarah D says they're working in 2 offices right now. Everyone in Illinois is sick. Knock on wood. I'm okay. Just like I said, it's kind of a voice thing today. Moving on to the next news piece. Currently up on Kickstarter for Flatout Games is Fit to Print. Here's the deets. Fit to Print is a beautiful strategy board game for 1 to 6 players that plays in 15 to 30 minutes. It's designed by Peter McPherson and illustrated by Ian O'Toole. Thistleville is the world's most bustling little town. It's a challenge to keep up with all the locals. But as an editor at one of the local newspapers, your job is to tell their stories. The front page is due in just a few hours, and you have no time for perfection. Grab the big stories before the other papers get a chance, and make sure you get the right photos too. A newspaper is a business, so the money has to come from somewhere. don't forget the ads. Once you've picked out a combination of stories, photos, and ads, it's time to lay out the front page. Did you take enough tiles to fill the paper, but not so many that things have to be cut? Over the course of 3 days, your skills will be tested as you compete to be the most newsworthy editor. Fit to Print features 130 plus unique newspaper tiles, articles, photographs, advertisements, and centerpieces, each with individual attributes and stunning artwork to make each front page one of a kind. Also comes with a variety of breaking news scoring cards and character cards, allowing you to mix and match new challenges each and every time you play. There are over 1,000 unique game setups to explore. There is a Kickstarter video actually runs a little longer than what we're used to seeing. It's a little more than 4 minutes, but you will get a far, far better idea about Fit to Print, currently up for up for crowdfunding.
Welcome to Thistleville. There's a little bit of everything going on in this charming woodland town. We're hosting everything from local fairs to international sporting events. We've got scandals and triumphs, good news and bad. Luckily, we've got enough local papers to cover it all. The name's Boris Ehrenstein. I'm the lead reporter around here. Now, pay attention. We don't have time to dilly-dally. The front page layout is due in just a few minutes. There's no time for perfection. Grab the big stories and make sure you get the right photos. And remember, newspaper's a business, so don't forget those ads.
Fit to Print is a beautiful strategy board game for 1 to 6 players and plays in 15 to 30 minutes. Designed by Peter McPherson, Fit to Print is set in a whimsical animal world illustrated by Ian O'Toole. Players compete to be the top editor in their own small-town paper by collecting and arranging articles, photos, and ads on the front page. Rules are simple, and they can be taught in just a few minutes. Let's take a look. The game is a real-time puzzle played over 3 rounds: Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Each round has 2 phases. In the reporting phase, you collect newspaper tiles one at a time from the center of the table and carefully stack them on your desk. Decide on the right mix of articles, photos, and ads, and when you think you have enough tiles, say layout, and start laying out your paper, trying to fit everything in. During the layout phase, everything must fit within the boundaries for the day of your paper. In addition, tiles of the same type cannot be placed next to one another. Articles of the same type or color may not touch, photos may not touch, and ads may not touch. Fit to Print features more than 150 unique newspaper tiles, all with gorgeous artwork that brings the town of Thistleville to life. You will score points in a number of ways as you piece together the news. First, articles give points based on their size. You'll also have to watch out for the mood of each of your articles. The goal is to balance the front page with good news and bad. Second, photos give points for being adjacent to articles of different types or moods. Another way to score points is by having the smallest white space left over. You'll lose a point for every tile that you can't fit on your front page, so try your best to collect just the right amount. Each round, you'll have a different centerpiece tile that will score in a way that is completely unique to you. So see if you can achieve their goals to maximize your points. Ads don't score you any points, but they are vital to your paper's success. At the end of 3 rounds, the newspaper with the lowest total ad revenue folds and goes out of business. So you'll need to keep up with your opponents. At the end of each day, you'll count up your points and your ad revenue and compare with your rival. After 3 rounds, the player with the most points wins, as long as they didn't fold. Each game of Fit to Print will have a new combination of tiles, centerpieces, and breaking news cards that provide additional challenges each round. Each time you play, you'll be solving a new puzzle. whether you want the frantic, rushed feeling of a real newsroom or a more relaxed pace, allowing for time to soak in all the stories, you can select the time limit for each round. Not a fan of real-time games? Try the turn-based mode. Want to introduce the game to younger players? Try family mode. Do you want to play solo? You can challenge yourself to the solo and puzzle modes. With so many unique ways to lay out your paper and score points, along with the variable scoring conditions and different game modes, lovers of spatial puzzles will have lots to enjoy. That's fit to print. With simple rules and simultaneous play, this is a quick and engaging game for players of all ages and skill levels.
Hey, now that you know the drill, you better get to it. Time's running out. That paper isn't going to lay itself out after all.
Yes, fit to print is like something like 100,000% funded right now. No joke. It is way, way beyond its rather small funding goal, but still, it is blown past it. And once again, it is for 1 to 6 players, ages 10 and up, plays in 15 to 30 minutes. And you can reserve a copy of the game, including stretch goals and some additional promos, for a $29 pledge. Yes, you heard that correctly. $29. And you still have almost 2 weeks to actually support this Kickstarter. Expected delivery is next October. And yes, as Mr. Eddie T points out, this looks kind of cool. I agree. This looks very interesting. Although I'm kind of surprised by something here. Yes, I get it. It is Flatout Games. They have done like well, I was gonna say Concordia, isn't that their latest game? The kind of nature game. But they did Calico. So I would think that we might eventually see this released through AEG because Flatout Games works with AEG quite a bit. But what I'm kind of surprised at is the anthropomorphic animal angle of this. Because it's for ages 10 and up. How many 10-year-olds actually know what a newspaper is and how newspapers were actually front pages were constructed back in the day? They're certainly not put together this way now. I find it kind of odd. I find it kind of odd because it's sort of like, well, we're using these cute animals and that to bring the kids in, but the kids are going to be like, what the hell is a newspaper? It's like it's not TikTok, baby. But this does look like a very cool game. I will point that out. And then the other thing is, yes, we've got these little animal characters in that, but taking a closer look at some of the articles, there are some like bummer news pieces. So it's kind of like, huh, okay, alrighty. So Jonathan Spencer is with us, as is the Warwolf. Welcome aboard, everybody. All right, it is Wednesday. How about some wargaming news? Because now shipping from GMT Games is Charioteer. Here's what I know. Charioteer is a new game from Sekigahara author Matt Calkins. Like Matt's previous games, Charioteer features simple rules, quick play, and novel mechanisms. Charioteer is a strategic racing game that plays in 1 hour. Each player controls a chariot in the Circus Maximus of ancient Rome. There's lots of action, and it happens quickly with simultaneous move selection. Movement is determined by melding sets of cards from a hand of cards. Every card does more than one thing, and it takes multiple matching cards to make a move. Choosing to use a card in one set means deciding not to use it in another. Timing when to make a critical move is as important as knowing what move to make. Moves come in four colors and each has a special advantage. Play a red move to attack your opponents, yellow to recover from disruption, black to turn a sharp corner, and green to sprint. Each racer begins the game with different abilities and they improve their skills as the race progresses, leading to big bonuses in their favorite types of moves. Show the Emperor the kind of move he prefers, and a racer's skills will increase even faster. Players deploy tokens to keep their moves a special bonus. More tokens can be earned by impressing the crowd with large matching card plays. Players may choose to delay using their best sets until they're big enough to qualify for a fan token. Some races will be violent, yeah, and others calm, depending upon whether the players and Emperor behave disruptively. Attacks cause damage, which reduces movement speed. Players who specialize in recovery moves may overcome damage quickly. Others may need to carefully deploy their shields on turns when violence is expected. It's not always clear who's winning the race. Being in front of the pack may not be as important as developing a critical skill, collecting powerful tokens, or keeping damage low. Whip icons allow those who have fallen behind to surge back into competition. Charioteer is easy to learn. It can be played by bright kids as well as adults. That sounds a little insulting, doesn't it? Well, as long as you got some bright kids, if you got average kids, don't bother. Despite its accessibility, it is a game of skill. Charioteer is for 2 to 6 players, ages 10 and up, plays in around 60 minutes, and it carries an MSRP of $85. Yes. I am a huge fan of chariot games. We have mentioned this, I think, like once before, talking about how years ago, this is about 13 years ago, I got my hands on a pristine in shrink copy of Circus Maximus from eBay. And I was so pumped. And I even had, I think it was 2 issues of the General, which back in the day was Avalon Hill's house organ. And I had those digitally, and I was all pumped. I was like, yeah. And I opened it up. I was like, oh, I'm going to learn how to play it again. Get some folks out in Phoenix to play. And I got to tell you, it was like, eh, the bloom is off this bit of nostalgia. Like, yeah, this certainly isn't as good as I remember it to be. And then Victory Point Games came out with Chariots of Rome. Was that maybe 3 years ago? It was one of their last games that they came out with, and it was actually pretty good. Although I didn't care for the God's intervention aspect of it. I would have, if we played it a bunch, I'd have been like, yeah, we're not using that rule. So I am really looking forward to checking this out because it looks like it should be pretty cool. Fingers crossed. WWE is not punk rock is with us in chat. Welcome aboard. Jonathan says, ha! If you have average kids, don't bother. It's a great way to interpret it. And they say their chariot shall be named Hoof-Hearted. I got to admit, I love the artwork on the cover. Very, very cool. All right. One negative thing I do have to mention, though. For a game that's aimed at ages 10 and up, playing in about an hour, an $85 MSRP is a little tough to wrap your head around. It is. But once again, you probably could have picked this up. I'll take a stab in the dark. About $59 as the B500 price. I'll have to take a look because I remember sharing a P500 news piece for Charioteer. And if I remember correctly, it was right in that ballpark, which is far, far easier for family gamers to swallow. All right, let's talk about some role playing game news because making its way into stores in January for 5e Dungeons and Dragons is the Star-Shaman Song of Plangia. And here's the skinny from Atlas Games. Fall through time into prehistoric fantasy. Plangia is a primordial fantasy setting for 5th edition, where a dungeon means the curse painted caves of a cannibal clan. Yes. Gone are the safe hearths of taverns and libraries, kingdoms and cathedrals. Plangia is a place of utter wildness, where survival is the only law, and it must be carved from the world by force of might and magic. Nothing is as you expect in Plangia. Elves are shimmering dreamwalkers. Dwarves are half stone. Humans are beast tamers. Yes, the beast master himself. Halflings are silent stalkers. Gnomes are filthy scavengers. Damn those filthy gnomes. And Dragonborn are just a heartbeat away from their draconic ancestors. Plangia rises out of our earliest ancestral memory, a newborn world just barely recognizable, which holds all the adventure we can imagine. Drawn from the traditions of sword and sorcery pulp adventures, infused with the blood pounding thrills of the Fury Road, and caught in the jaws of primordial dreams. Plangia calls to those who felt the cold wind raise a chill of hunt and hope on their raw skin. It is a realm where the planes of existence have not yet separated, and a great warrior can travel by foot from the sea of stars to the infinite volcanic peaks of Blood Mountain. Along the way, you must battle everything from cold, alien intelligence to the genie caravans, from the four empires of the giants to the roaring oceans that ring the Great Valley, from the cold, bony fingers of the nightmare world to the terrifying jaws of the jungle known as the Venom Abyss. Plangia offers endless adventure. The 350 plus page hardcover of the Star-Shaman Song of Plangia will carry an MSRP of $59.99 when it arrives in January. And there is a free first look over at Drive Through RPG if you want to check it out. This seems very interesting. I have to point out, I have never checked out any role playing, releases from Atlas Games. When I think of Atlas Games, I always think of Gloom. Cthulhu Gloom, regular Gloom. To be perfectly honest, I've never played an Atlas game. Elliot has. Elliot did some reviews of Gloom and Cthulhu Gloom. But I have noticed Atlas, I know they've released role-playing game titles in the past, but I believe that more recently, I think they have been leaning towards RPGs. In fact, they have a Kickstarter that is currently up that I thought looked pretty interesting, and I'll be sharing some news about next week. But this looks very, very cool. So stay tuned. I'm sure we will see the PDF available at Drive Through RPG in January as well. On to the final news piece. A revised edition of the Perilous Wilds for Dungeon World is available in print and PDF. Here's the dope from Lampblack and Brimstone. Actually, dig the name of that company. It's Lampblack and Brimstone. The Perilous Wilds combines Dungeon World's approach to collaborative world building with the old school RPG reliance on random tables to generate content on the fly, woven together by modifications to the original Dungeon World travel moves. The main differences between the use of tables in the Perilous Wilds and their use in older role playing games is an emphasis on exploration and discovery over combat encounters, and the baked in methodology of using randomized results as prompts rather than facts to be interpreted during play. This revised edition cleans up the layout, fixes minor text issues, and updates the dungeon generation procedure. The book is 76 digest sized pages divided into the following sections: learn the language, a glossary of terms, draw the map, guidelines for collaborative cartography, lead the way, alternative rules for followers by Jeremy Strandberg, see the world, new moves and guidelines for undertaking perilous journeys, weather the storm, suggestions and moves for handling, you guessed it, weather, ask the fates, a host of tables for generating wilderness adventure, plumb the depths, rules for creating dungeons during prep and on the fly, live to tell the tale, 5 new compendium classes, trust your gut, advice for improvising overland adventure, name every person, sample name lists for people, places, and mounts. Thought they were going to say people, places, and things because, that's a noun. The collaborative map mapping guidelines and all of the tables are system neutral, which means you can use them with any role playing game rules. Although the tables are structured to tie directly into rewritten travel moves, they can be used in any game in which a fantastical landscape is explored. The 74-page softcover and PDF together are available for $15 over at Drive-Thru RPG, or you can scoop up just the PDF alone for $8. Yeah. I have to say, I find Dungeon World, and of course, the game that it derives its mechanics from, Apocalypse World, to be very, very interesting in theory. I don't know how well they play. Now, I've heard people say, oh, yeah, fantastic. They are awesome. I don't know. I To me personally, I think the moves throw off a lot of the game masters. I think that is what holds people back a little bit. Players in that with the playbooks in that, I think they probably wrap their heads around those pretty easily. But I think that the whole concept of moves or especially experienced game masters probably feels alien to them. Although I have to admit, I have read Dungeon World and I think it's pretty cool. So I've only peeked at Apocalypse World simply because it was kind of going into certain areas that I was not like, I was kind of like, seriously, really? This is pretty mature content in here. Coco B is with us. Coco B is pointing out that they are intrigued enough about Pangea to check out the free preview over at Drive-Thru RPG. All right. Anyway, but this looks very interesting as well. So, and it is not only for Dungeon World. If you're into OSR games and randomly generating your world kind of on the fly, this looks like this would be right up your alley. All right, that is it for the news tonight. Of course, I was just talking about Drive-Thru RPG. Don't forget, the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit Drive-Thru RPG, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale. All those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up and help keep the gaminggang.com around. Also, if you like this video, if you dig the channel, if you find the gaminggang.com to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, you can always stop by paypal.me/gaminggang making a small donation. Lastly, the game sale is still ongoing and starting on Black Friday through Cyber Monday. I want to say I think there's still about 130 board games, role playing games, miniature games that are up for sale. I am going to have a special where if you purchase 3 or more, and they are at rock bottom prices, if you purchase 3 or more games, I will take 25% off the total before shipping. So there is that. All righty then. So we are going to be taking a peek at Tome of Beasts Volume 3 from Kobold Press in just a few moments. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out for a delicious snack in our sparkling refreshment building. Every item a fresh, appetizing taste treat.
Looking for a good time, looking for what's real, knowing that a good time is the thing that's real. It's the real thing, Coke. Intermission is the time, refreshments and my friends, knowing all along that's where it all begins. Looking for a good time, looking for what's real, knowing that a good time is the thing that's real. It's the thing that's real. Especially when it's Coca-Cola. It's the real thing. Yes, Coke is the good time real thing. It's the real thing.
You must buy this Wilkins coffee by the ton. What was that?
Another ton of Wilkins just arrived.
So let me get this straight. And yes, Wilkins lives. So the Thanksgiving King Size Kids Show starts at 10 a.m. And it's supposed to be 2 hours of a film, some cartoons, a side-splitting comedy. But the kids will be home by noon. So how is it 2 hours? Are you going to beam the kids from the theater back home? And who the hell eats Thanksgiving dinner at noon? Yes, Dan Kellogg points out, yes, in sepia color. I mean, it's almost like real color. Mr. ADT points out, wish I could go to the movies for 25 cents. So my mom is 80. Yes, pretty amazing. Just turned 80. And she tells me stories. Well, she's always told us stories about as a kid. Of course, this is back when kids, you're 10 years old. Yeah, you can hit the streets alone. It's fine. I was like that. I was 12 years old taking the bus all over Chicago. Nowadays, it'd be like, um, yes, where's your parents so we can arrest them? But my mom used to talk about how it was such a big deal to get a dime to go to the movies, and how they would have the Saturday matinee with the cartoons and all that stuff. And every once in a while, my mom might actually get an entire 25 cents to not only go see the show with her brother, my uncle, but also they had a nickel left over for candy. Holy moly. Compare that nowadays where it's like, so wait a second, my ticket, a popcorn, and a Coke is costing me more than 20 bucks? Dan Kellogg says they're eating at 2. Well, at least that's not noon. And they're running a game of Cyborg for some friends in the evening. You mean this game that we're going to be taking a look at on Monday? This game? Flaming Huron's with us in chat. Good to see you, Flaming Huron. I notice Kevin R. Smith has joined us as well, running out just in time for the main attraction. So Sarah D says times have changed. They can remember going to the local liquor store with a note from their mom, pick up a 6-pack of hams and a pack of Salem's. I used to go to the store with a note from my mom to pick up cigarettes. So know where you're coming from. Dan Kellogg says, that's the one. That's the game. Yes, we'll be taking a peek at this on Monday. I'm hearing good things. I am hearing good things. But, like Mirkberg, yeah, Mirkberg's okay. I'm not as, thrilled with it as a lot of other people. My thing is the art. I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, that artwork is just fabulous. And it's sort of like, yeah, but I'd rather have you focus on it being a game. So, all righty then. So, as I mentioned previously, today we are going to crack open Tome of Beasts Volume 3 from my friends over at Kobold Press. This 434-page bestiary contains hundreds of new creatures and beasties. The hardcover carries an MSRP of $49.99. You can grab just the PDF alone for $24.99. Flaming Huron says game first, art second. I am right with you on that. So let's swing on over to the other camera because here I've got Tome of Beasts 3. Few things to mention before we dive on in. First of all, the fine folks over at Kobold Press were kind enough to provide me with this review copy. Please keep in mind, it's not a review. A lot of people comment all the time, like, oh man, great review. And it's like, no, it was a first look. I haven't seen anything in this. It's all brand new to me as it is to you. Then again, some of you out there might be far more familiar with Tome of Beasts 3 than I am. So please, it is not a review, but this is a review copy. And no one affiliated with the gaming gang has received any other sort of compensation outside of this review copy for me to share this coverage with you. And these days, it is Important that you know that. I'm also going to say picture in picture up here, as I always do. That means I'll be cutting off a bit of the upper left portion of the book as we take a peek within. And of course, we are not going to look at each and every page, but I do want to give you a good feel for the creatures that are inside Tome of Beasts, Volume 3. So let's take a peek at the back here. Oh, so there are over 400 ferocious monsters for 5th edition. I knew it was over 430 pages. I wasn't sure it was more than 400 monsters. See, when I say it's a first look, I mean it. I hadn't even looked at the back of the book. DM. Inside the chest, you find several potions. Rogue. Ooh, let's do a little taste test. I cracked the first one open and DM. As you uncork the vial, its vicious contents explode into tendrils that latch onto your face. Wizard. Gah! My father was right. I should have been a rug merchant. Whether you need crawling horrors to stock scaled vaults or sinister citizens to enliven your towns, Tome of Beasts 3 has what you seek. These pages present the right monster for every occasion. From swamps to Arctic tundra and from mountains to deserts, you'll find a new creature ready to thrill and terrify your players. Tome of Beasts 3 brings you Void Knights and Breakwater Trolls, Prismatic Dragons and Royal Chimeras, Stained Glass Moths and Void Claw Zombies, Breath Stealers and Witch Adlers, Kobold Drake Riders and Hellfire Giants. Delight your players with new, fascinating, and deadly opponents every time. So Jonathan S. is Kobold Press a partner company? And as Kevin points out, no, this is third party using the open game license. So a few things to kind of mention right off the bat is, if you're not familiar with Kobold Press, their production quality is always really good. Artwork's always very solid, fairly uniform throughout their books. Paper quality's good. Not a lot of sheen. A little bit, but not a ton. At least it's not a black background. So, like when we were taking a look at Blade Runner, they were like, "Oh, I hate that black background. Oh, I hate that sheen." I get it. I completely understand. I get it. So there are loads and loads of creature designers for this book. That's why I didn't go through a list of the authors, because I think there's like 50 of them. So, and I would probably butcher most of their names anyway. So Kevin's discussing a little bit about Wolfgang Bauer. I have interviewed Wolfgang twice. So if you are interested in learning a little bit more about Kobold Press, by all means, check out those videos. He's super nice. He's a fun interview as well. All right. So we're going to dive on in here. So this was kickstarted, and it was a very successful Kickstarter. Usually the Kobold Press Kickstarters do very, very well. So it says, written primarily for game masters, this book features over 400 new creatures to use in your games. For players, this book features a handful of new familiars and beasts, perfect for characters seeking companions or druids seeking new beasts for wild shape. If you are a player reading this book, be sure to check with your game master before selecting any of these creatures or familiars or companions or for wild shape. So the reality is, bestiaries really aren't, aimed at players. They're not really player-facing books. And myself as a game master, I wouldn't really want my players reading the monster manuals and things like that, because to me, that just ruins the fun. course, then again, I'm also one of these people. I never tell them what the thing is. I don't sit there and I'm not running Call of Cthulhu. Oh well, you encounter a couple of deep ones. No, absolutely not. And it doesn't matter how many times they run into these things. I try to describe them a little bit differently, although they still know it's kind of the same thing. And I never let them know what these things are. So it looks like we've got a bit of an introduction here by Luke Gygax. So I am going to be jumping a bunch of pages here, but I do want to kind of we'll take a peek at some of these creatures that we have. So this is an abacy, which I'm blocking out the title of it right there. Flaming Heron says that forces players to use their imaginations. Yes. Saying, oh, well, you encounter orcs. Like, yeah, okay. Like, yeah. Now, that's not to say that sometimes, like in a fantasy role playing game, once the player characters have encountered whatever creatures they may happen to be, it's not to say that I don't allow them to realize, oh, hey, you know what? You are just talking to what most people refer to as a gnome. Oh. So this is a four-armed ogre, roars with fury as a beam of intense energy lances out from its single eye. Descendants of a long-forgotten servant race, the giants, Abacy delight in slaying powerful foes and covering their bodies with enemies' armor won in combat. We have a Alazai, a cousin to the Genie and the Ifriti. Alazai wander in the wastes and badlands of the world, preferring hot climates. Alazai aren't nearly as social as other genies. They are fiercely territorial, lashing out at anyone they feel has intruded upon their domain. But as you can see, the artwork is very, very cool. Coco B points out Kobold Press outdoes the latest Wizards of the Coast releases most of the time. I will not argue that. I have a good number of Kobold Press reviews on the very near horizon as well. So those should be hitting in December. We've got the Alpine Creeper. Alpine creepers thrive at high elevations. Plant uses its likeness to true lichen to lure prey and is the cause of many mountaintop deaths attributed to animal or monster attacks. This innocuous looking plant settles in a location and waits for unwitting humanoids and giants to pass over it or to take a rest on it. Yeah. This is the Kumbaya. Actually, it's an angel. Ah, so I was a little close on that Kumbaya. So we have a shrouded angel, though no less noble and dedicated than other celestials. Shrouded angels understand that evil must be destroyed no matter the method. These angels throw aside the inflexible adherence to the law in order to serve as heaven's hand of justice, combating the darkness with roguelike skill and an assassin's blade. So we have animated instruments, the Ephesian abomination, a living weapon created during a great war of mages. The Ephesian abomination exists to slay spellcasters. Powerful abilities to attack the speech centers of the mind, can break communication, as well as stop spellcasters from speaking the words necessary to cast their magic, effectively neutralizing them. Though the mighty magicians that created these magical constructs are long dead, their creations still roam free in the blasted wastes where the war was fought, seeking enemy spellcasters to destroy. The Oral Hunter, a Bannock in a tub. It's like, okay. Shane Sangster is with us in chat. Good to see you, Shane. The Bannock are elderly keepers of bathhouses, wizened and wrinkly fae with clawed hands and big heads, capable of seeing fates and commanding water. Their tempers are as mercurial as water, and a Bannock driven from its home is a grouchy, provocable creature desperate to return to its steamy domain. Like, okay. That's a little bizarre there, I think. A Birgemon seal. That's creepy looking. Almost like something you would expect to encounter in John Carpenter's The Thing. The Bone Lord. Bone Lords are collective amalgams of various bones erupting from mass graves and bone middens, coming together for the express purpose of punishing the living for simply being alive. The Caldera Kite, like some sort of an insect. Caldera kites are giant skybound insectoids that soar on updrafts emitted from volcanic activity, and they scavenge their territories for prey with their long proboscis nose. Cave mimic, clockwork scorpion. Constructing and maintaining a clockwork scorpion requires mastery of both engineering and alchemy. Because of this, they are usually built with the cooperative work of multiple artisans. Being the sole creator of a clockwork scorpion is considered a mark of prestige. We also have a clockwork pugilist here. The Daedon, almost like hyena, jackal kind of. Well, it says it's a scavenger that range freely in forests and grasslands. Locals refer to them as hell pigs, but they are more closely related to hippopotamuses. Isn't that hippopotami, the plural? And possess massive maws. Desert slime. Desert slimes were first created by a druidic ooze master who had long been frustrated at the dawdling pace of his creations. While traveling the wastes, he learned to infuse the desert wind into a sandy ooze, thereby solving his dilemma. So Kevin says they think part of the problem is that Wizards of the Coast has to please everybody in order to protect D&D's popularity and their bottom line. Third-party publishers are free to make products with a strong vision. I think part of the issue too, and I've mentioned this in the past, and once again, I don't have any issue with Wizards of the Coast. They always treat me very nicely. But the issue I find is that they have far too few people who are actually working full time on D&D. There is far, far too much work done by freelancers. And I do agree with Kevin as well that you're looking at, well, we gotta satisfy the lowest common denominator out there. So, and God forbid anybody get upset, just like they had to backpedal on those chimpanzee-like creatures from Spelljammer, and it's kind of like, really, and and I get it, I understand, but still, it was sort of like, yeah, okay, so they were a slave race, I get it, but come on. I think one aspect that we encounter far too much in our hobby are people who are so overly sensitive to real history. So you can't just ignore things in the past, right? Yes, I get it. Slavery is a very touchy subject, but we can't pretend it didn't exist worldwide. And we can't pretend that it doesn't still exist in many forms throughout the world. Well, just let's just not talk about it. You know, it upsets me. Well, if you're upset by it, then do something about it. So, so Flaming Heron says they need to pander to the lowest common denominator. Oh, I don't know about that. So we've got some prismatic dragons, but it's just, you know, everybody's so overly sensitive about everything. So Kevin says they think the big problem with the Head of Z was a particular picture that was really reminiscent of real world racism. Mm, I got to be honest, I didn't really focus on some of the art in that book. Simply, yeah, the artwork was all right, but once again, you know, I'm not somebody who is going to automatically catch on to things like that because it's not part of my shared experience. It's not my, you know, my background. So if you know, you want to talk about uh, religions going, you know, head to head, toe to toe in Ireland, well, you know, that's something I know a bit about. So we've got a Kobold Etten. So we got a Coral Queen. But I am a firm believer that, you know, people should not be upset uh, by a game. But I'm saying they shouldn't be put into a position to be upset. So Kevin says the accusation about the image was it smacked of minstrel shows. So, but Kevin points out they believe there's some overreactions on these issues. If somebody's feelings are hurt by something or they're upset by something, I completely am in their corner. But I also believe that, you know, it's like we see things all the time where it's as if, you know, there's a lot of terrible things that have taken place throughout history with various different uh people of different color, of different sexual orientations, different religions. We can't pretend it didn't happen. And I see far, far too many people who that's their approach to it. It's like, oh, well, you know, we can't really discuss that because it upsets me. Well, but it happened. So, so Coco B says, on a lighter note, they also called Star Frontier uh, Yazirians Hadizes. I'd like to actually see Wizards of the Coast come out with a new Star Frontiers. I think that would be cool. So Tessie Trekkie says, if you've experienced real world persecution, it's very easy to become extremely sensitive to it. A lot of representations of LGBTQ plus folk is still very tokenistic. Completely understand. So we've got various different hags. Yes, suddenly we got like into this serious discussion. Games should be fun. Games should not upset people. I say it all the time. When you're a game master, you want to make sure that everybody around your game table is comfortable. They're having a good time. Nobody's feelings get hurt. Nobody's eye gets poked out. And if you can do that, you're doing a hell of a job. We have Iron Slime. Iron slimes are oozes born from magic-infused salt water, questionable alchemical operations, or cast-off swamp lightning from foxfire oozes. See the creature codex. With compact forms and coloring that reflects the current positivity or negative, positively or negatively charged state of the ooze, iron slimes can be difficult to spot when submerged. So we've got some new kobolds, an Empyrean kobold. Kobold, oh, I guess it should probably say kobolds are known for fearlessly throwing themselves into battle against any foe, large or small. However, few know the underlying source of their reckless approach to combat and life in general. Truth lies in kobold's desire to impress an Imperium kobold. So we have a kobold Drake Rider. We have a kobold monster hunter. That's kind of cool. So Tessie Trekkie asks, can I have an undead flaming velociraptor as a druidic companion? Sure you can. Because I'm a game master, I give everything up. Living soot. Though they resemble sentient spider webs, these nightmarish elementals are actually products of planar collisions between the planes of air, earth, and fire. Yeah, this is just jam-packed with creatures. A monkey's bane vine. These deadly, semi-mobile carnivorous plants superficially resemble normal vines. Monkey's bane vines are found in forests and jungles, growing around the trunks of towering rainforest trees. A mud mutt. It's like kind of a frog dog. It says mud mutts are big frog-like canines. There you go. That hunt insects and waterfowl in bogs, marshes, and swamps. Nerifon. Another carnivorous plant. Ooh, cool. A thunderer. All right, that's a little weird. An undead elephant that has the top of its skull and spine carved out, replaced with an enormous ballista of polished brass. Yeah. Got some new ogres. A cunning artisan ogre. Fleming Heron says, try to say that 3 times fast. Monkey's bane vine. Old Salt over here. An Old Salt is a sailor who was wrongly convicted of a crime and condemned to walk the plank. Just before drowning, the Old Salt swore an oath of vengeance against those who wronged it. 13 weeks later, the sailor washed ashore in a port where a false accuser resides. So it is an avenger. Or maybe we should say a revenger. A quagga? Smaller than their horse-like cousins, quagga have a zebra body topped with a humanoid torso, head, and arms. They traditionally style their manes into stiffened crests and sport decorative piercings and ritual scarring, which varies from tribe to tribe. Despite their similarity to centaurs, quagga despise the moniker saber towers, finding it highly insulting. Savior Lumen. Miniature angels with crow wings. Oh, okay. A scarsupial. Scarsupials, also called drop beasts, killer awas, and gravity bears. It's a drop bear. by various groups are creatures of the great forest. They lurk in the high canopy of the trees, waiting for prey to pass along the jungle floor. Scarsupials range in numbers from solitary bulls to colonies of the creatures, and they are cunning enough to coordinate their attacks. At rest, they appear to be mostly harmless, pudgy gray bears. That's not gray. When on the hunt, they extend long, needle sharp claws, and their eyes glow a baleful red. Jonathan says, so they aren't zebra centaurs? That would be an insult. Tessie Trekkie says, drop bears live in Australia. I know, there's signs to watch out for them. Chitani, shapeshifting fiends that prowl savannas and deserts. Chitani seek intelligent creatures to torment. Chitani entertain themselves by using their magic to lead mortals astray, giving false directions or advice, or disguising dangers along a path with illusions. We also have a shadow lurker. There. A snatch bat. Jeez. So it's kind of like a bat, but its head is an arm with a hand. All right, so these aren't all hits. So Tessie Trekkie says you need to wear Vegemite behind your ears to be safe bushwalking to avoid the drop bears. The sunflower sprite. Sunflower sprites are small plant-like fae that use sunlight to power their radiant magic. When the sun sets, or if they are in darkness for too long, they go into a torpor, taking on the form of a faceless sunflower. Danger or need can awaken a sunflower sprite before dawn, but they tend to be sluggish and sleepy. Talus flow. This massive scree and gravel causes the ground to rumble as it advances steadily up the slope in defiance of gravity. So it looks like it's an earth elemental of some type. A Trollkin Ragecaster. We have a Desert Trollkin over here. Ragecasters are spellcasters born among Trollkin clans. Like many spellcasters, Ragecasters display their magical gifts at a young age, but then their great tempers begin to show. These tempers lead to devastating incidents. Huts housing the child are struck by lightning. Villagers who upset the child catch on fire. I hate when that happens. Trees fall when the child cries, and so on. Once a Trollkin child shows the signs of being a Ragecaster, it is given to the clan's shaman to learn to control its magic and temper safely away from others. An underworld sentinel. A Vorthropod. Like it's almost like a fire lobster. The wild Sirocco. Born where the elemental planes of air and fire meet, these creatures are as capricious as the former and as consuming as the latter. Driven by a compulsion to burn through everything in its path, these fiery vortexes scoop up anything in reach, scorch it, and then fling the wreckage wantonly. Or wantonly. Yes, it's English, Jeff. Read English. In the desert, this might mean cacti and sun-bleached bones. In a wizard apprentice's summoning room, this could mean far worse. So we have a witch alder. Wood hags create witch alders by corrupting alder trees and endowing them with intelligence and a wicked demeanor. Resembling gaunt, horrific treants, witch alders are bound to the hag's will by the dark ritual that awakens them. Wood hags frequently employ witch alders as wandering watchdogs, compelling them to patrol the area near the hag's lair or act as guardians of the hag's gardens. And we have a Zulak, like a bit of a drake. This is a minor dragon found throughout the world. All right, so then we have our final is a Void Claw zombie. Void Claw zombies are suffused with the magic of the void, which twists their bodies into odd proportions, including overly large clawed hands, a shortened frame, increased intellect, and surprising speed. They are created in rituals invoking the void, and they channel its dark energy. Well, we have an appendix here for NPCs. So we have an NPC features table. That's kind of cool. So we get new NPC kind of archetypes. Infested duelist, warlock of the genie lord, merchant captain. Then we've got creatures by challenge. We have creatures by level, creatures by type. Oh, I guess challenge is level. Creatures by terrain. And we have our Tome of Beasts pawns and Tome of Beasts layers, which I did receive layers. So we'll be taking a look at that in the very near future as well. All right, and then we get our open game license, and that is Tome of Beasts III from the fine folks over at Kobold Press. Once again, this 434-page bestiary contains over 400 new creatures. The hardcover carries an MSRP of $49.99, or you can grab just the PDF alone for $24.99. And of course, stay tuned. I will have a review of Tome of Beasts in the future. All right, let's swing on over to the other camera. Yes, very, very interesting. So, of course, we skipped tons in this book. So, Flaming Heron said they already had to grab the PDF alone. All right. So, that is it for tonight's episode. Of course, tomorrow is Thanksgiving. I do want to point out I am very, very thankful for each and every one of you who watches these videos, who hangs out in chat, stops by thegaminggang.com, because the reality is, if you didn't do that, I wouldn't be doing this. So there you have it. So thank you. Thank you very, very much. On Monday's show, we are going to take a look at Cyborg from Free League Publishing. We're also going to take a look at the asset pack that was sent along as well. I have almost no idea what's in here. I'm sure there's like character sheets. There's poster-sized map. Oh, there's an adventure. There's a location pad. See, because there are like sheets in here. So I don't know. I don't think it's like a big long adventure. I think it's probably like 6 to 8 pages or something. But we're also going to take a peek at this as well on Monday's show. The rest of next week, I don't know. I got loads of goodies. I'm just not sure what order we're going to be taking a peek at them. All righty then. So that is it for this time out. If you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ding that bell. It'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. I'll also let you know when I upload other videos, such as my upcoming review of Shake That City, which will be up on Friday because this is arriving on Kickstarter next week, 29th, if I remember correctly. course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more that you won't find here on the YouTube channel. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. If you're here in the U.S., have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Have a very safe and happy Thanksgiving with your friends and family. If you're outside the U.S., enjoy the rest of the week. Have a great weekend. I should actually have a listing up of some Black Friday deals as far as tabletop games. Depends on what I find. I've been kind of peeking around a little bit. So keep your eyes peeled for that. I'll probably post that tomorrow evening, and update it as I learn about other things as well. So happy Thanksgiving, everybody. And of course, here's hoping you're going to enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is in your neck of the woods. Of course, I will be back on Monday. And here's hoping each and every one of you gets to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.
Oh, hey, you're still here. Well, that's okay. You don't have to leave just yet. In fact, why don't you subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel right here, or take a peek at the latest live stream, or even find out what YouTube recommends you check out from the channel. And of course, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thanks again for watching.